Hello everyone and welcome to Nintendo Lounge. I'm Scott. Joining me as always is Jimmy. And the Nintendo Switch has been out for quite a few years now. I picked it up day one, and Jimmy, when did you pick it up again?
Like, very late. Maybe 7 months after it came out, something like that. Yeah, we'll say that.
But all of you who still have yet to pick up a Nintendo Switch, you now have more options in purchasing your device, and you can get a Nintendo Switch or the now recently announced Nintendo Switch Lite, which personally I think they should call it the Nintendo Lite Switch.
Nintendo Light Switch? Ah!
G'day, gets it.
I've never heard of that. That's funny. That's very funny. I'm sure people have made that, but to me, that's your joke.
Oh, thanks, man. So, this has been a rumor for the last couple of months. People have been leaking and speculating that a new Nintendo Switch should be on its way, a Nintendo Switch Mini, possibly, a Nintendo Switch Pro. More recently, a lot of Chinese cases for the Nintendo Switch Lite have been leaking out. Everyone's like, oh, it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This usually happens with every sort of upcoming iPhone release. The case will get leaked and everyone will sort of know its sort of general shape and size, which with an iPhone is pretty much the same every year.
Yes.
But I wasn't 100% convinced on the Nintendo Switch Lite Mini Pro, whatever it was going to be called. Jimmy, what did you think about all these rumors?
I was... For some reason, I was thinking in my head, I was like, people would bring up, a new version of the Switch, and I was thinking like, okay, but people kept saying like, Switch Mini, but I'm like, but the Joy-Cons are one size. Like, how do you get it to fit? How do you get a bigger screen? Like, people saying, bigger Switch. I'm like, but the Joy-Cons will be the same size. Are they going to release bigger Joy-Cons? Like, I was like, that's not going to work. It's going to get confusing. People are going to buy the wrong Joy-Cons. I was like, how's that going to work? But then they did it in like the most obvious way that I didn't think of. I was like, like you linked me the actual trailer for the Switch Lite, and immediately I was like, it's handheld only, isn't it? And I watched it, I was like, yeah. So yeah, big reveal, handheld only.
Handheld only. So out of nowhere, old mate Koizumi comes up with a fresh new hairstyle, looking quite cute, looking quite kawaii, and he's like, hey, what's up guys? You like your Switch? Well, guess what? We got a new one coming out. Just like the 3DS, how that ended up having the 3DS XL, the new 3DS, the 2DS. Seems like we're going through that all again with the Nintendo Switch now. With the Nintendo Switch Lite, a portable version, a smaller portable version of the Nintendo Switch. It doesn't connect to your TV. It doesn't even have a kickstand for tabletop mode. It's only handheld play only.
Yeah, that would make sense though.
Which is great for people who sort of play on the go, all that kind of stuff. Personally, I prefer playing it on my TV than taking it around with me. Nintendo Switch always felt a bit clunky, taking around with me. Sort of going to people's houses, sure, that'd be great, but on the go, never could be bothered. So this is good for someone who wants to do that with the Nintendo Switch, sort of play it on the go, but maybe the Nintendo Switch is too big, too bulky, it's compact, it's light, and for this version, like Jimmy was saying, how the Joy-Cons will be too big and all that kind of stuff. This time, it's got built-in controllers.
Makes
sense.
So
the Nintendo Switch Lite is all one unit, and it comes in at a size of about the same size as one of the bigger sort of iPhones, coming in at a touchscreen of 5.5 inches as compared to the regular Nintendo Switch that has that of 6.2 inches. They're both 720p, so there's no upping of the resolution, which is a bit unfortunate, but it does have a better battery life, which you would hope for a more portable, specific console. The regular Nintendo Switch came at 2.5 to 6.5 hours, whereas the Lite, not much more though, will come in at around 3 hours to 7 hours.
Yeah, that's my thing with that, is like the minimum being about 3 hours. I'm like, if it's a specifically handheld, I know it's hard because they're literally home console quality games. I was a bit off-put by it being such a small, battery life, because I'm like, man, it's like if it's a handheld only and you get 3.5 hours possibly of game time, it's not a huge amount. But I mean, I don't really play too much like handheld anyway, so I wouldn't really know like what's the what's the best amount of battery life you'd get out of one. So I don't know. Yeah, it just kind of put me off a little bit, just because it's not that much more than a standard one. So I'm like, I mean, to pay a little bit more for a standard one and then be able to play it on a TV potentially, it's not too much of an incentive. But yeah, it's alright. Like, how are you feeling about it? Like, are you gonna pick one up? That's my big question.
Well, you know me, Jimmy. I have a pretty big Nintendo Switch collection.
I'm not surprised.
But I don't see myself picking this up. One of the issues, which we'll get into a bit later on, is the price of this machine. But before we get into that, I want to talk about some of the cutbacks they've done with the Nintendo Switch Lite to get this smaller, to get it cheaper. They've sort of removed a lot of the innovative designs and...
Yeah, that kind of, makes it a bit difficult to, like, transition down to it. Like,
exactly.
If you've got the Switch, there's no reason to get it, yeah.
So one of those is the IR camera, which is included on the right Joy-Con of the Switch, which is used for quite a few games. Nintendo Labo, of course, which you won't be able to use because they don't detach. 1-2 Switch, among other games. Also, no HD rumble is included with this, which is a bit of a shame. Hopefully there is a rumble of sorts. But one thing they've added, which a lot of people love, is the actual D-pad.
Yeah, like I understand why they don't have a D-pad. Like it makes sense for the design of having... having your Joy-Con separate into two separate controllers. Also, you know what game is it way better with Joy-Cons?
What game's that?
Breath of the Wild. Because, like going through your inventory is a pain with a Pro.
It is. Hopefully this D-pad actually works, unlike the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller's D-pad, which is just awful.
It's a bit wonky, yeah. So hopefully it does work out pretty well. I trust that they would, because Zelda's going to be like an instant pickup for a lot of people if they buy the Lite. And if it's already pretty broken and clunky to use, like a D-pad with the menus, which have been designed around using like the button interface of the D-pad in the Switch. Well, not D-pad, but you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah. Cool. Sweet. D-pad.
Another cool thing, unlike the regular Nintendo Switch, is that this one comes in colours, not just the colours of the Joy-Con, but the colours of the system itself. You got yellow, you got grey, you got turquoise, and you've also got the limited edition Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield variant, which looks pretty cool. It's sort of like a grey, whitish sort of colour with some Pokemon decals on the back, and the left-hand side of the system's all blue in regards to the buttons, and on the right-hand side, those buttons are all sort of like the pinky reddish colour.
Magenta.
Which I think looks pretty cool. Yes, magenta. That's the right word.
Okay, you got it.
So the Nintendo Switch Lite will be coming out on September 20th, which is just a few months away. However, this is the kicker. This comes in at a recommended retail price here in Australia of $330, which in comparison, you can pick up a regular Nintendo Switch at amazon.com.au for about $390.
Yeah, and they actually dropped down in retail prices in stores like EB Games and stuff like that to $399, so you're, not saving a whole lot. I think that sale's going to end at some retail places, but we're talking about strictly Australia. I think it's $200 in the US. And stuff like that, so it's like $100 down from what it is in the US for a standard one, although I don't know if the standard one's gone down like retail wise, but I think like the recommended retail price for the standard regular Switch, which is going to be annoying to say, standard Switch, regular Switch, I think people will know what we're talking about anyway, it's about $300, so it's like $100 difference there, but I don't know like is the value of everything that gets added on to a Switch Lite to a regular Switch, is that $100 worth? Like the Joy-Cons themselves, I don't know how much they're worth in the US, probably like $50 or $60 on their own, so it's like, and then you got the dock, you got all this stuff, so I don't know if it like equals out pretty good, so...
And the worst part is, the kicker here is it comes to $199 US in America, of course, which equals 285 Australian dollars. But yet all the Australian retailers have put up that price even further to $330, which makes it not competitively priced at all. I've messaged a few people who wanted a Nintendo Switch, and when the trailer first came out, I linked it to them, and they're like, yo, this is so exciting, a cheaper Nintendo Switch, I'm definitely going to be picking this up.
Yeah.
And then an hour later, I'm like, yeah, but this is the Australian prices, and they're like, might as well just go the full way.
You could literally pop to a retailer right now and pick up a Switch for just like $30-$60 more than that, so
or just pre-owned. There
you go, just get a pre-owned Switch, there you go. It's not sponsored by EB Games or GameStop, guys. Anyway. I'm just gonna say, I definitely won't pick this up at all. I feel like you assumed that immediately. Like, I've already got a Switch. There's no use in having it. I don't even really like when I first got the Switch. I use it handheld all the time because it was like a novelty. It was like really cool. I was like, oh, I can just play a game in my bed. But now for the most part, we're playing on like a monitor. But the game that I am playing in my bed all the time is Terraria. So having that handheld's really helpful. But I'm never out and about playing them. Sometimes I might, bring it with me if I feel like I'm gonna be bored somewhere and we're, long hours. Like film shoots or whatever it might be. I brought it to them and played a little bit here and there. But for the most part, if I'm playing it handheld, it's in my bed. So I don't really see the benefit of having it smaller and more compact to like put it in my pocket and take it with me, because I don't really go anywhere with it. And if I do, like, I can carry a Switch. Like, it's fine. So no benefit to me. So
exactly. Also, a little extra sort of thing I wanted to include is in this sort of reveal trailer, they had a really nice sort of video showcasing the Nintendo Switch Lite, which I have to say, the cinematography and the color grading actually looked pretty good in some of the shots. And they also have some representation of space gamers. There's a little shot of this astronaut just playing a Nintendo Switch Lite.
Neil Armstrong playing his Mario Odyssey. Yeah, that was like, it's so funny. They're just like, dude, our market reaches like that far. Like, as far as humans can go, that's our market
Nintendo.
goes that far, dude. Kids, astronauts, like, you can play our games in space.
What's next?
What's next, dude? Aliens.
And speaking of what's next, we've got the Nintendo Switch, we've got the Nintendo Switch Lite, which is a handheld version. Okay. Jimmy, do you think next year we might get the Nintendo Switch Pro, a sort of home console focused one, which is sort of more powerful, maybe 1080, 4K possibly, or higher graphics?
No, not 4K. But now that you propose that idea, because I was like, how do they do that? Like, how do they get like a handheld and improve it in any way? Because like, I don't want there to be an improvement, because I'm happy with how it is. Like, I'm like obviously it doesn't perform amazing all the time, but like, I'm satisfied with it. Like, I'm satisfied with my Switch, all good. If I want to play a game that's high fidelity, PS4, whatever, Xbox, like, I play my Switch just because it's good quality, like Nintendo games, and the option to play it handheld is there, and that's why I'd get it on Switch. So to have a higher fidelity Pro console doesn't make sense. But you made the point of saying, like, if it is home only and you actually can't do it handheld, is that what you're actually saying?
Yeah.
That makes sense, but also at the same time, it doesn't feel, because I like that it has that ability to switch between them. That's why Switch. I feel like that's the selling point of the console. You take that away in a Pro console, like, cool, you can play Mario at 60 frames per second. Oh, never mind, it's already 60 frames per second. Oh, you can do, like, it's, I don't see the benefit of it. And if they did do it handheld as well, like, what, you make a bigger screen, but then, like, what do you do with the Joy-Cons? Do the Joy-Cons still stay the same size? What's the go with that? So in my opinion, I'd say I don't think it'll happen. I think I feel like they're going to be a lot more smart with this, if that makes sense, because with 3DS, that got confusing. I had people like asking me questions about that all the time. I work in retail, and stuff like that. So people ask me all the time, like, can I play 3DS games on 3DS XL? Yes, you can. Can you play 3DS on 2DS? Yes, you can. Can you play this on this? And then it's like, oh, you can, but some games actually don't work on that one. What's the new 3DS XL? What's this? It's like, it's too much. So I think they kind of want to go streamline with this one, keep it focused on possibly just the two. I feel like, I don't know if I actually have no idea if there's anything been revealed. So you're probably gonna be like, oh, well, there's actually something happening. So lay out on me.
Well, there's something actually happening, and the Nintendo Switch, the original Nintendo Switch, is getting a little bit of an upgrade. The new Nintendo Switch will be getting a new processor and new flash storage chips. They're not making a big deal about this. They're just sort of casually sort of pushing it in, probably in time for the Nintendo Switch Lite release, in which you can get the Nintendo Switch Lite
how are they
or
going
this
to
new
market
version.
them?
I don't think they're going to change the market of it at all. I don't think there's going to be many changes in regards to the old Nintendo Switch that we have in this new one.
Are they just going to replace it?
They're just going to sort of casually replace it, the model of it, basically.
Because that's what they did. That's what they did with the PS4 Slim consoles. Because they don't do the standard PS4s anymore. They only do the Slim PS4s.
Oh, not even like that. Maybe in regards to like the Game Boy Advance SP, when that originally released, they had a sort of a side-lit version. And then in newer releases, they never marketed it or anything like that. They just changed the lighting, and it came out with a backlighting. Same thing with the Xbox 360. When that originally came out, it had all the problems of like the red ring of death and all that kind of stuff. And then a newer model sort of just casually came out, sort of fixed all those issues. So this one here may have a longer battery life. It may have less slowdowns. It may have less heat problems.
Yeah,
you won't know until it comes out.
Well, I'd wait for it to come out to see how it performs and wait for people to do analysis of like how what the difference is, because like I'm scared of having a slightly improved console come out, because then I'll be like, well, I have the weaker one.
I don't think it'll be much.
Yeah, but there's the thing is like I'll be like, oh, man, and I've got everything saved on my console. I mean, you've got cloud saves and stuff like that. I don't know. Anyway, like that's the thing that scares me a little bit, is like every single time I buy a console now, I'm scared that they're going to just release a better one, and I'll be like, and it's like, or like it goes to like similar price. I'm like, oh, but I can't really just kind of swap this in now because the value of mine's gone down significantly since the release of this new one. I'm like, I don't know, it becomes confusing. So I don't know. I don't know if that, I feel like it goes as far as firmware updates. Like, I feel like that's the thing with, modern technology now, like with an SP and stuff like that. Like, I know like hardware and putting in a new chip and whatever, cards and whatever. But I don't know. I feel personally cheated. I feel personally cheated by it. That's my thing.
I think this new chip may just be sort of like getting with the times, sort of get rid of the old chip. Maybe there's like a newer, smaller, cheaper version of sort of the same chip, which they're just going to replace. So that means making the Nintendo Switch, manufacturing it will be cheaper. We'll have to wait and see when it comes out. But personally, like I said, I don't think there's going to be any noticeable differences.
I just hope there's no console updates that come out for the Switch that they haven't tested it correctly with the old Switch, so then stuff starts to run slowly and then like starts to become irrelevant, and it's like this new, like incognito new Switch, like has a better performance for whatever reason. So I don't know. I just be a bit scared for that, because I'm like, I don't want me to feel like my Switch is not as good as other people's.
Not as good as John's Switch. Bloody John.
Yeah. John's like 3 years late to getting the Switch, but he got himself the better one, because, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I got my Switch early. I got it within the first year. I'm like, I'm cool, but then I'm like shot in the foot because I didn't wait out for the better console that comes out later. So I don't know. It does hurt. Like that's what happens with like PS4. People come in, they're mad. They're like, I got the original PS4, but apparently the Slim's like a little bit better or whatever. I'm like, oh, I want to play my 4K things, but I got the original Xbox, and Xbox One S has that 4K player and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it just kind of feels like these things just kind of come out, and then you're like, even though you got it early, you've got like the worst one. I don't know if that makes sense. I just feel cheated by it. I feel cheated by a corporation. That sounds sad, but there you go. That's how I feel, dude.
So there you go. Let us know how you feel in the comment section below about the Nintendo Switch Lite, and also this sort of upcoming, sort of updated Nintendo Switch model with the new processor and new flash storage chips. Do you think there's going to be any significant updates, or do you think it's going to basically be the exact same thing? Let us know. And as always, stay subscribed. Bye bye.
Yeah, please. Thanks. Bye.